Hey everybody, welcome to Not a Cigar Show. Maybe a little bit. This is episode 459. It's not 459. I'm totally lying. If you're just joining for the first time, I am making this up as I go along. I refuse to do a cigar show. And so it's just me hanging out with some friends, having a cigar, talking, and you all get to listen in. And my guest this week needs no introduction. I always feel like that's the line for when people don't know how to introduce somebody. They say, this guest needs no introduction, because I basically couldn't come up with an introduction. But if you've been in the cigar industry for a while, been around, been to events, you have seen my guest. Please welcome, and I'm super honored to have her here, Laurel Tilley.
Thanks, Fred. Happy to see you.
Yeah, thanks for being on Not a Show.
Of course. You're one of the longest people I've known in the cigar industry. I mean, I've known you since, I've known you since the very beginning.
Wow. I'm so sorry that was the access point you have to fall back on.
You and Miguel, basically, but Miguel's really nice, so you balance each other out.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I don't have to replay to know how that sentence went down. I love Miguel, though. I absolutely love Miguel. Get him started on bananas if you're ever talking to him, because he's a total geek on knowing weird things. So I hate the first. Oh wait, you have to pick a number between 1 and 5, so I know what I'm smoking.
Between 1 and 5, ooh,
yep.
3.
Oh, dang it! So there was a.
Okay, no, wait, 1. I changed 1.
No. I'm sticking with you. So this was a love-hate relationship. I'm picking this one because this is AJ Fernandez, La Finca Lilia.
Okay.
Which was the H. Upman won the single I want to say single vineyard, but it's really but this is La Finca Lilia. This is my last one. So if anybody's watching this right now, and you find these, don't smoke them. You won't like them. But tell me where to get them. Tell me where to find them. But they've long since been gone. Great cigar. So I love hate with smoking this one, because it is my last one that I know of. So I hate the question in the beginning that people ask you, like, oh, what was your first cigar? So tell me, because I don't know mine. I feel like I have to make something up. I guess it wasn't memorable. So tell me about like your first getting into the industry, though, because you have like one of the coolest shops that was like my goal a long time ago. So tell everybody about getting started in the industry. Then we'll get to current day at some point.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I actually do remember my first cigar, and I remember my first cigar that actually made me like cigars. There's a difference.
There is a difference. Okay, good for you. Good for you.
But I kind of fell into it through some friends and really enjoyed just the overall like culture of it. And I'm a social person. I like people, and the cigar industry to me has always been like very welcoming and social, and just good camaraderie. I mean, you know this, you've done this forever. But yeah, so I was a customer at Yuli's, where I subsequently ended up working, and just really loved the people, the staff, the customers, and sort of like forged my way into a job there. And yeah, and then that turned into.
I'm gonna stop you right there, because if people don't understand Yuli's is a company that started like in 1939. This place is iconic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yuli's. So it started out, yes, 1939 is correct. It started out as predominantly a pipe shop. It's all over the logo. Don't give yourself too much credit.
I look like I'm doing homework. It's impressive. Oh, just give me the win.
Good job, Fred. That was the right date.
Thank you. It is all over the logo.
So yeah, now I'm inhaling my smoke. So that's karma for making fun of you. So yeah, it started out as a pipe shop, and then in the boom in the 90s became more predominantly a cigar shop. So yeah, it was a great place to be. Very old school, no walk-in humidors. So like every customer was forced to talk to you, which I think annoyed them at first, but I also think it helped build our relationships with them, and also hone in on my skills of being able to speak to somebody about a cigar, because you couldn't really let them browse on their own. Like they had to have an interaction with you. So just kind of like a very old school mentality there as well. But yeah, so Yuli's was great. I was there for 6 years. And then as I was finishing my undergrad, I ended up getting a job with General Cigar, STG, which with Macanudo, and then was there for a while, for about 6 years. And then, I am coming up on my 3-year anniversary with AJ Fernandez now, which has been awesome. So it's just sort of an industry, and I've said it a million times, it sucks you in, and you're just in it. And, for better or for worse, thankfully, it's currently been for better, but it's just been a fun place to be. So kind of got my start in retail and moved my way along, and here we are.
Right. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'm actually way more interested in the AJ aspect of it. But tell me about your transition from going SCG, Macanudo into AJ Fernandez, because those are very different environments, both from a company standpoint and philosophically, just the cigars.
Oh, absolutely. And, retail too. And I feel like I've gotten kind of the best of all the worlds of the cigar industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Retail, you build the fundamentals right. STG was much more, corporate, larger.
Right,
Macanudo is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. And it was a big change in terms of both the product and the culture. But, it was a change that was good for me. And I had been looking for something that I could feel a little bit more of a part of, if that makes sense.
right.
And, I've always enjoyed AJ Cigars. And ironically, like, he did a lot of collaborations with some of the brands at STG, like, Diesel and Punch and Hoyt Monterey. So I was smoking a lot of those even before I came over to AJ. So, and when I would do like trainings about tobacco, I would always use his fermentation process as an example because he's just got such a unique one.
Hmm.
So it's like almost this weird manifestation that happened over the years. It was like setting me up
Right.
for being with AJ. But yeah, STG was great. Macanudo and all the people I worked with were awesome. But, this company and the overall, I don't want to say like the overall vibe of it, but just everything from the cigars to just the opportunity, it makes more sense for me. And yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, I never really thought about your succession of companies because you just didn't have to pay your dues. You just didn't have to like get that boutique company with the shady owner and the tobacco that was coming from someplace questionable. I mean, you really you've picked well.
Oh,
You're like the
thank you.
you're like the Michael Douglas, who never picked a bad movie of the cigar industry. So um let's talk about let's back up just for a second. So now you're at AJ. So
Yes.
if you walk in, someone in the lounge and says, "Hey, describe what do you do? What's your position? What do you do?" In the length of a cigar answer. I mean,
Sure. So, yeah, we're a smaller company, and it's so funny because I'll say that, and people are like, "AJ is not a small company." Like production wise, no, we are a massive company, but personnel
right,
wise, at least for like the US division, we are not that big. We only have like 8 road reps and myself. So kind of my day to day is working with the reps, doing in-store events, just kind of establishing that rapport with accounts. When I first came on, one of my more, I guess, prevalent duties was, working with the reps and just sort of creating that consistency within the company and just, figuring out like what people were looking for in terms of, what can we do to help them, with our product on the shelf. What do they need more from us as a company to help bring awareness to our product or to help them understand it better. I do a lot of like staff trainings. So all of everything from, major accounts like Cigars International and Casa de Monte Cristo, Corona to your smaller, one singular brick and mortar shop. So I guess if it's making a longer, more detailed answer short, it's spreading the good word of AJ Fernandez, right? Just getting people to
right,
understand our own brand versus like contract manufacturing. So what you are smoking right now is not within the AJ Fernandez portfolio. It
right,
is a
right.
contract brand that we do for Ultimus, right?
Hey,
So
you
helping.
picked the number. Don't blame
Hey,
this
I
on
know.
me.
I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you. But
And
there's a
statistically, that was a good odds.
there there are a lot of people, both customer and staff, that don't really understand the difference of
Right.
portfolio to contract manufacturing. So it's been a big push just getting people to kind of understand that difference. And yeah, just bring a little bit more of AJ brand support to stores in terms of promos and
Right.
events and just, overall recognition. So I don't know if that makes sense.
No, look, you've been there long enough. I mean, coming on 3 years, you've been there long enough to see the backfill implications of his collaborations out there, of of additional portfolio, of his contract work. Have you seen that now that his name starts to get a little bit bigger in that? It's not like he wasn't big before, but it's got a little, people now know his name, and it may not have been from his cigars initially. They're like, "Oh, what this H. Upman AJ did? Well, what else does AJ have?" And now they're back into your core lines.
Well, and it's good that you bring that up because yes, AJ doing the contract manufacturing and having his name on a lot, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? His name gets out there in a bigger way. Maybe people were discovering him originally through like alternatives like H. Upman or Romeo and Julieta or um, what he was doing with Win Monterey or whoever it was. We do stuff with Foundation and numerous other brands, right? So I think that in the beginning kind of helped establish him as a household name
Hmm.
and spread his reputation throughout the industry. And then because of that, people are more open to thinking about like, AJ's name in a bigger way. New World has always been a flagship product for us. So when people
Yeah.
think about the AJ Fernandez name and portfolio, New World has always been something that has helped him, or helped us establish kind of that recognition. But yeah, doing the contract manufacturing and these other collaborations, I mean, absolutely has helped get his name throughout the industry in a bigger way. And then, yes, it's leading people back to some of the other brands, New World, San Latano, those are easy. People recognize
Right.
them, but Dias de Gloria or Enclave,
Right.
so it's definitely helped, but it also just, I think people still sometimes remain confused about it. They're like, oh, you work for AJ, that's awesome. I love the H Upman. You're like, cool.
Right. 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 Yeah. That's AJ, but so I never really thought about like, so the conflict from your position is, you go into a retail shop and you are AJ's side. They're AJ cigars. These are not contract. This is AJ's, like you said, there's Enclave and there's all sorts of some really good ones in there. Now you go to a shop and you're like, hey, I really, really want to bring this in, or I want to increase the spread of this. And they're like, well, I've already got a lot of AJ stuff. Like,
Correct.
well, you do, but you have AJ's interpretation on what they want for their cigar. You don't necessarily have what AJ wants out of his own start to finish. And I never really thought about that challenge, but I mean, it's a fight for real estate space, right? And
Absolutely.
the more he does contract, the more you're like, I could have had that space, but now these guys have it, and that's not us.
Yeah, and that's to your point. I mean, you go into a shop, it's like, oh, well, I already carry 32 AJ facings. You're like, yeah, but that's not like our
Yeah,
facings.
yeah, right.
And again, kind of what comes back to my role is getting people to understand. Sorry, there's this like very big, beautiful butterfly flying through my garage right now.
There we go. Nice, nice.
But yeah, so getting people to understand, portfolio, everything that AJ makes for himself is going to be 100% to his likeness, right? He's really not putting out anything that he
Right, right,
doesn't
right,
personally
right,
smoke, whether it be blend, size, whatever. I mean, he
right,
really
right,
didn't
right.
really care necessarily that much for 6x60s. So a lot of what we do are actually like box press 58s, because
Oh
he
no, so he was the one that I did eight. I was fortunate enough to do 8 cigars with AJ, 8 or 9, and I always wanted
would
if I
know,
still
man.
had yeah, and if I hadn't sold the company, literally my ad in the mag was to me was I was making cigars with AJ before it was cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like there was nobody back then that was making cigars with them. And he told me when I went to make a 6x60, he's like, no, 6x60 too much, 6x58 elegant. And I'm like, whatever you say, man, whatever you say.
No, and it's funny, but it's true. So like everything that he's putting out is really he's not putting out something that he does not personally like to smoke. There's brands that he has more of an affinity for, but anything that he's putting out contract manufacturing, of course, there's going to be the quality and the care put behind it,
Sure,
right?
of
But
course,
you're
of
still
course.
working within the confines of somebody else's vision.
Right.
So everything coming from portfolio is going to be, 100% him, which I think there's, if you're really a big fan of AJ, there's something to be said about that, right?
Right. Yeah,
So,
definitely. Definitely. So how often do you interact with AJ?
not super often. I mean, mostly like if we go down to the factory or PCA or at the
Mhm.
office, like, in Miami, occasionally on like a marketing meeting or something. So not super frequently.
So what would
So
you say, like somebody's asking you saying, okay, so you're selling me AJ or you're talking in the lounges. What sets him apart? I mean, AJ has grown into this powerhouse, but what sets him apart in today's market as far as what blending philosophy or what he does? Like you already said that he goes for whatever sizes he wants. But what do you think that his kind of superpower is on that?
honestly, I think his superpower is in his fermentation and in just his blending
Mm.
style. For me, my personal favorite part of smoking something that he makes is that everything is very like clean and it doesn't have that tarriness and it finishes really nice. There's nothing
Hmm.
worse for me than smoking a cigar and like the last third of it or the last quarter of it, it starts to get like real,
Right,
bitter and
right,
it's got
right.
that, and it's kind of got that like muddled sort of aftertaste. So he is able to achieve this really complex blending style, and tends to lean towards fuller bodied cigars, heavier tobacco, right? We're using predominantly Nicaraguan tobacco, which inherently has a little bit more of that spice, a little bit more of that power. And he's able to do it in a very like intricate and delicate way while still being really flavorful, but
Mhm.
not overpowering, if that makes sense, and not using like spice for the sake of just it being spicy, like food, right?
Right.
I like
Right.
spicy food, but I don't want it to melt my face for no reason. There has to be
Mm.
balance. So, I would say his real strong suits is just in his like the blending complexity, his ability to make multiple different Nicaraguan puros all taste vastly different,
Right.
and just in like the cleanness of the smokes.
Yeah, I find it interesting, of the people, and AJ is certainly one of them, and he's probably one of the best I've known, or certainly, on the short list. There are a lot of guys that are, in the factory that are blending cigars and certainly part of the process, and they certainly go out to the field and stuff like that. But I don't know anybody that hands-on the blending and the entire process that is also that much of really the farm side. He is
Oh,
really into the tobacco. I remember walking I remember going to the farm with them one of the days we, went out there several times, but we're literally done with whatever we're looking at. We're going to go look at something drying away. We're driving away, and I see these plants off in the corner that just look different, and I'm like, "What are those?" And he stops the car, and we get out, and we go over there, and it was by this creek bed, and it was him experimenting with other tobacco, but just to see the look on his face of one, he thought it was really cool that someone noticed that that was something different.
yeah.
So brownie points for me at that moment. I just thought it looked different. But I mean, you could tell that he was proud about it because he loves to experiment. But the people that are that entrenched to the field, not just visit it, not just consult on it. I mean, like his
In
boots
it.
are dirty as much as they are clean in the factory.
Correct, and I think he has unintentionally created this sort of, like, elusive persona for himself because he spends so much time in Nicaragua, in the fields and factories, people's like, "Oh,
Right.
well, we don't see
Right.
AJ at events." Like, AJ, he thrives in the fields and the factories, you're getting a good cigar because he's there,
Right.
coming to do events and, visit shops. It's not that he is antisocial or doesn't want to see people. It's just that that's truly where he thrives and where he wants to be. And he is super, super hands-on. Like when he's not at the fields, when he's not at the factories, like then I mean, obviously there's people at the factory that can continue with production and everything, but he is the guy. I mean, I remember when I came over from Macanudo and we used to do like blend panels, so where we'd go as a team and like choose blends and whatnot. And people are like, "Oh, are you gonna help AJ, with the blending?" I'm like, "What? No. Why? Why
No,
would I do that? What are you talking about? That's what? First of all,
no.
I value my job. Second of all, absolutely not." Um, but no, he really truly, I mean, he is in it. He's not just somebody who walks around and like, checks on something. He's like, "Oh, okay, okay." No, I mean, he's the guy.
Yeah, he is super hands-on. I mean, I was luckily, when I was there and most of my blends were just agreeing with whatever AJ said. And I would bring a little piece of paper to him and he would scratch something out and go, "No, that's not what we're not gonna do that." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess we're not gonna do that." And then the one time I gave him a blend I was working on, he looked at me, he's like, "This is a very good blend." And he handed it back to me. And I just wanted to put it on my refrigerator with a magnet because I mean, I'm just like, it's like, like for my parents to see or something. Cause,
Yeah.
but he's always very helpful, but he's very, I don't know if I want to say like a tobacco geek because I don't even know that even does it justice. He loves that part of it. He loves to know every piece of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody, and this is gonna come out wrong, and I'll probably delete this, but AJ has, especially now, has a ton of great tobacco. But when I go back to when AJ started and he had access to a lot of good tobacco, it wasn't necessarily the best tobacco. He had a lot of really good tobacco, but there was nobody better at taking tobacco that was just like some other guys didn't know how to work with. And he knows how to work with everything and get it to its best cigar possible.
Yeah.
Even when I look at some of his budget cigars, and maybe that's a better way to approach this comment. Look, a budget cigar can only have so good a tobacco in it. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, tobacco is expensive.
Yeah.
And his ability to take that tobacco and make it shine and turn it into something good amazes me. And I think he's one
Oh,
of the best at it.
absolutely. And the thing about him too is, people who do, people who are blenders who work in the cigar industry, right? Like everyone has, intelligence and, different aspects of it. But like AJ is just he's a very, very, very smart individual. Yeah, like I think his mind just works differently, and, being
Mhm.
able to kind of grab onto all the minutia and, like, his desire to know every little detail definitely helps him, but he's
Mhm.
just very, very, very smart.
Yeah.
Like, in all aspects, business,
Right.
tobacco, so, I
Oh
think
yeah.
that helps him as well, and, that's his thing.
Yeah, and he's also very, and I think to your point earlier about him seeming aloof, just because he's look, even if he's a PCA, he is thinking something of blends. He is his mind is in the field. His mind is
Yeah.
something on the. But I mean, I've seen him where when I had been struggling, and he's just like very nurturing,
Mhm.
very like willing to teach and help people grow, and that's a
Yeah.
side I think a lot of people don't get to see of him.
Yeah. Well, and I think people like, when I came on board here, they're like, "Oh, well, have you met AJ?" I'm like, "Once briefly in passing, but I didn't know him that well really at all before starting here." And I think people who don't know him perceive him to be, like, hard or distant or whatever, and
Right.
that's just not the case. I think it's just part of it is, he's doing his own thing, part of it, if he's not comfortable speaking with you, like, with just, one-on-one. I don't know what it but I've never had that experience, he is
Yeah.
very like, he's just, he's passionate and he is very kind, so, I mean
Yeah.
and I
And
honestly
go ahead.
I didn't know you did that much with Nomad with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, it was he was my first Nicaraguan production, and then I did, like I said, 8 or 9 out of there, and always fair to me. I mean, when I needed a value line, he was helping me on that. I wanted to do it. I was missing something in a blend. He's like, you gotta. I won't tell the story on this show, but I mean, he's like, try the Ometepe. And I go to grab the Ometepe, and he's like, nah, you got to go to the island first. You're not allowed to touch this until you go to the island and go see it, in person. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
shit.
fine. I'm going to Ometepe.
How
So
was it? Was
yeah,
it beautiful?
oh my God, it is an incredible story that I've probably told too many times, but I'll tell you when we're done with the show because it's
Sure.
pretty funny. But and I just don't want to bore anybody this if I've told the story before. But yeah, it was. But he was always very very nurturing in that. So let me ask you this. So what are some cigar trends now that you're seeing in the market that you're happy with? That you're just like, what are you excited about now, cigar trend wise? And you're a cigar smoker first and foremost. You always have been,
Yeah.
at least since the beginning. So you're like me, like we have a love for cigars. We'll smoke other cigars. We'll talk about other cigars and stuff. And you're very much like that. So what do you see either lounge wise or industry wise? What excites you about the industry right now?
Well, so I think there's been kind of a downtrend in the big ring gauges, which like
Yeah.
thrills me a little bit.
Yeah. I'm
Maybe
with
not
you.
even so
I'm
much
with you.
maybe not even so much a downtrend in that, but like an uptrend in smaller ring gauges that people are excited about. If I had $1 for everyone who's like, "Oh, I love Lanceros." Well, you know what? Lanceros don't sell. People don't smoke them. It's crazy.
Right.
But
Right.
it
Right. Right.
seems like more people are inclined to try that smaller size and, you know, kind of stick with it. So I've seen a little bit of that, but I've also seen it seems like especially this year at the trade show at PCA, um, it seems like there's been kind of an uptick in the desire for something more like mellow medium. It
Yeah.
seems like people have been, I don't want to say getting away from like super, super strong cigars, but I always thought it was just a detriment to you as a cigar smoker. You hear people are
Right.
like, I've been smoking 20 years. I don't smoke anything that's mild. Like, why
Right.
not?
Right.
Your
Yeah. Good
palate
for
is
you.
your palate is, refined and you can understand like the
Right.
little intricacies for a mellower cigar. Like just because you can smoke something that's a 10 out of 10 in strength doesn't mean you always have to. And it seems like people just didn't really want to smoke something mellow. I don't know if they just felt like, you know, a stronger cigar equaled more value or better value, but it seems like people are kind of getting back into those like mellow mediums and appreciating something that's
Right.
a little bit more subtle, which I think is great. I think there's a place for everything. So those are the kind of two things that I've noticed in the last couple years.
No, those are great observations because I can't say, I mean, I can't say I thought I was gonna be floored by your answer, but I'm floored by your answer because I mean, because I didn't really think about it, but I mean, one is, definitely the warming up to smaller ring gauge. It was definitely, and I don't mean small, I mean 5 by 50, 5 by
Yeah.
52, 6 by
Not
52.
70s and
Uh,
80s and
right,
60s.
right,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think some of it, I think the big size stuff for me, I think a lot of it was value. I think a lot of people were, looking
Yeah.
at it going, well, for 50 cents more, I've got a giant cigar. Look, I've said Lanceros. I love Lanceros. Lanceros had their shot. Let's just have a couple of those, but let's try Lonsdales. Lonsdales for me generally are a lot better. There's a little
Yeah.
bit more real estate to work with. So I think that's a very good observation. And then I think also, yeah, I mean, as people have evolved in their palates and realize that I don't have to have a spice bomb. I don't have to have a 10 out of 10. And from a delicacy, I don't even think that's the right word. From an intricacy of a blend or a complex blend, if you just want strong for strong's sake, it's not a particularly hard blend to make. Throw enough
No.
Lajero in there, throw enough stuff to make there. But if you want flavors and balance in your palate, just enjoying a lot more, that medium plus range for me is much more enjoyable. So I think that's a really good observation, particularly on the ring size. I'm seeing a lot more people smoking things. I would rather have two 5x50s than have a 60. I would
Oh, I
rather just have
agree.
back-to-back cigars.
I agree. I mean, I can probably count on one hand how many 60 ring gauges I've had in my life, and that was simply because, we released a size and I had to smoke it to try it to know, or it was
Right,
like a
right.
limited I hate limited blends that only come out in like 60s. Like, why? Why would you do that?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, and it's nice for the blenders because I think the challenge. Look, everybody blends a little bit different. Most people are in the 5x50 range when they're blending, and then you tweak the blends as you go out. If you go down to a Lancero, you have to tweak the blend. If you go up to 6x60, you have to tweak the blend. Let's not even talk about above 6x60. So you start to get away from where I think the blend really shines. It doesn't mean it
mhm.
can't have a good by 60, but I mean, we've all had great blends where I love this 5x50. And maybe for me, 1 out of 10 of those will I also like in a 60. Because the other ones start to lose something. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that trend also.
Yeah, and everyone it's great that you can smoke what you like, whether it be a 60 or a 48 or whatever, but it just for me, like I'll get into a conversation and somebody's, they're a self-titled, cigar nerd, or they love this blend or whatever, but they only smoke it in this one particular ring gauge. Like, so for example, like Dorado, right? Okay, so we have the New World Dorado.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who like it in the Gordito size and or they've smoked it and they're like, well, I don't know if it's for me. I'm like, try the Corona or try the Figurado. Like AJ makes
Right.
mean Figurado. Like that's where his his blending style shines in particular too with
Yeah.
those. And it's just like try it in a different size or try that blend you really like in a Corona or a Robusto and see if it's different. And I give people credit who actually do that. They smoke once or twice and they're like, yeah, this isn't for me. I like the longer smoke or I like the flavor profile of this one better. Fine. But it seems like, yeah, people are a little bit more open-minded to trying
Right.
something
Right.
different.
Right. Well, it's like people that will never try a box press. I'm like, one, AJ is a very short list of people that can pull off a box press incredibly well. And it's like, you're missing out. You're missing out on a totally different cigar experience.
Yeah, I don't get that. People are very, very opinionated when it comes to box press. Like, "Oh, I will never
What?
smoke a box press."
When the very first cigar I made with AJ was the S307, and it's a Sumatra, and 307 was for the square miles of Esteli. And it was not going to be box press. When AJ and I finished the blend, which means AJ finished the blend, and we were going back and forth. He made me feel like I was part of the process, but it was really AJ kind of going, we're going this way. And
Yeah. You're like,
so
"Okay."
we had this around, and we're smoking in his office, and he's like, we should box press this. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, AJ. I said, a lot of guys don't like box press. It's my first Nicaraguan production. He said, yeah, Padron doesn't sell any box press. Don't worry about it. And so he box pressed it. The next day we come back because he said the Sumatra is going to smooth out. And I was nervous because I didn't know how well AJ, how box presses are kind of tough to do. I mean, they got to be
Yeah.
rolled right. And we came back the next day in the afternoon, we smoked the box press and it was great. Of course it was great
Yeah.
because whatever he said, it was going to be great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does change the smoke, and especially when you're doing something with those heavier flavors, the box press does smooth it out. It changes the way that you get that smoke through, and
Sure.
I think, again, it's just anything I think can fall into that category of, like, don't discount something if you've never tried it or, at least approach it more open-minded. Maybe you once had a box press 15 years ago that you didn't like, but that doesn't mean that every
Right,
blend
right,
in a
right.
box
Or
press is
or perfectos, like you said that you brought up the
Yeah,
perfecto earlier. I mean, great, elegant smoke.
yeah.
All right. So what's a fun or quirky fact that most people don't even know about you?
Wow, non sequitur here, Fred. A fun or quirky fact that nobody
This is the
knows
part of the
me.
show where I gotta bring out. It's not supposed to be a cigar show.
I know we've been talking about cigars a lot. Gosh, I don't know. Um, Fun or quirky? I don't know. I mean,
Or hobbies,
yeah,
that
I
goes
would
into.
say like for me, I'm a big nature person and I just love being outside. I love being like outside in, beautiful scenery. I mean, I guess I can just walk and walk and walk. Okay, maybe this is fun and quirky. I love just like people watching and observing and I'm like very comfortable being by myself. Like I'm a very social person, but I also love just spending the day by myself. Like I was in DC recently and it was just this sort of like weird trip where I had something in one market on one day and then something in DC on another day. And I kind of had this like weird, like half afternoon yeah. So, I mean, I literally just walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and just like, watch people and like, no headphones, just like observe around me. And I mean, I did 17 miles, Fred. I did 17 miles
Oh,
of just like walking around,
whoa,
watching people. And it's just, I always find it
no.
like, I just find it so interesting. Um, and just, being outside and I mean, I can go kayaking and just like float and watch the clouds for hours. And maybe that sounds silly, but I don't know. It's where like my happy place is. But I
Wow.
just,
And you ride
yeah,
motorcycles?
ride motorcycles. Yes, yes. My one sad motorcycle is staring me in the face because it's been too hot to ride all summer, and I haven't given it any love since like April. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, we actually went to New Zealand in January and did a big motorcycle trip with some friends. That was dope.
Oh, that had to be
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
we did 2,300 miles in the course of like 12 days, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, I don't know. I just like sort of do it doing nothing in nature, I guess,
Right.
is my happy place.
Okay, so if you're stuck out in the wilderness and you could only have one AJ cigar with you, what cigar would you want?
Diaz de Gloria Habano,
Oh,
the
nice
original
choice.
red. Yeah, yeah. I don't even have to
Yeah,
think
nice
about
choice.
that.
Wow, yeah, yeah. Most people are like, "Oh gosh, that's so hard to narrow down. I don't they're all so good." And I like all my kids, but I mean, wow, you just right out of the gate. What about that cigar do you like?
No, everyone has a favorite kid. Parents lie when
Yeah,
they say they don't.
they're just not allowed to say it out loud. Oh,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they definitely.
Yeah,
I have friends with
trust me.
multiple kids. They definitely have favorites.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I'm an only child, so I don't have any competition.
Right.
um, yeah, so I love the Diaz Gloria Habano just because it just never disappoints me.
Mhm.
There's other blends that we do that are, they're good, but I have to be in the mood for it. That's just a
Right.
cigar that I can smoke literally anytime, and it always makes me happy. It's like, I'm a big music person, so if you're like sometimes you're just like in a bad mood, you're feeling wishy-washy about what you want to listen to, and you can always listen to your favorite band, and it just puts you in a good
Right.
mood. That's
Right.
how that cigar is. Like it doesn't matter what time of day, what mood I'm in, what I've eaten or not eaten. It's just really, really good. And I think it is a criminally underrated cigar in our
Yeah.
portfolio. Anybody that I have turned on to the Diaz de Gloria Habano, they're like, "Oh my God, how have I never smoked this before?" So
I feel like there's a short list of cigars, and that's one of them. There's a short list cigar that I feel like is in everybody's wheelhouse. Like whether you're a mild or full guy or whatever you are, I feel like that's one of the cigars that's just try it.
yes,
It's
yes,
kind of like in everybody's wheelhouse. It's like
absolutely.
it's oddly familiar, even though it's a different blend that you may not have had, but it's just that comfortable. Like I know what it's going to be. I'm always going to enjoy it.
Yes, and it's something that more of a novice can smoke because it's not crazy strong, but it's also interesting and complex enough that somebody who is a bit more seasoned can enjoy it as well. So, if I'm doing like a staff training or something, I always sell it as like the wedding or the barbecue cigar. Like everybody's gonna love it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it just it's always good.
Do you pair cigars with anything? Is there a go-to drink or something you want it, either an unexpected drink or a food or something that you just always like to have with cigars?
To be honest, I'm not like a huge drinker. I
Mhm.
mean, I do a lot of tea.
Mhm.
So there's certain like teas that I like with certain cigars right now. I'm drinking my favorite everyday. I guess I should have been smoking the Diaz de Gloria because this is like my favorite everyday tea. It's just it's the Rishi, also a Wisconsin brand,
Oh,
English
there you
breakfast.
go. Shout out to
Um,
Wisconsin.
yes. And yeah, so there's nothing I don't go into something specifically trying to pair. Um but I tend to do more tea, or if it's alcohol, it's wine, like a fuller red. I
Right,
kind of
right.
do with a lot of different cigars. What about you? Are you a big pairer?
I don't. As I got older, I don't drink as much anymore.
Yeah,
I'll have a single malt or something like that. I like wine. For whatever reason, a lot of the wines and stuff give me headaches now, so I have to learn like what the sulfite levels are or something like
sure.
that. So
Yeah, and that red wine, the sugars in there. Psh,
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I hate it because I love red wine. I mean, and I used to drink tons of it, and I just drink a lot less of it now. But I don't feel the pressure for a pairing. I mean, I'm okay at an event not drinking, and I might have a Diet Coke or something nearby or something. But I'm
yeah,
okay. Just I enjoy the cigars.
yeah.
You know.
To be honest, I'll pair a cigar more with like an album I want to listen to versus something that I want to
Oh,
drink
okay.
or eat. You know, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm a big music person, so having something that I'm like, oh man, like there's this artist that released this new album, and I want to sit down and I want to listen to it because the first time I listen to something, I want to listen to it, not just put it
Right.
on in the background.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, this is about an hour and 20 minutes. You know, I can sit down with a cigar and listen to this while I smoke. So that's more
Hmm.
intentional for me than like drink or food.
Right. That's good. I like that. Um, What, what do you feel like in the cigar industry? What do you feel personally fulfilled by? Like what for you, what do you love about the industry?
You know, going back to being, I guess, a people person, like I feed off of other people's like positive
Mhm.
energy. And when
Right.
people are excited about something, when they're excited to talk to you, excited to learn, like that is fun for me. Or like PCA when I get to see all my friends, you know, and it just
Right, right.
like everyone's excited to be there and it's very social. Like that just gives me that gives me so much joy and it is very fulfilling. Or, you know, going somewhere and especially if you feel like you can change people's attitudes, you know, sometimes you go and do a staff training or you do an event and you get, like, the cynical guys who are like, I've been smoking longer than you've been alive," and you're like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
yeah. That's real.
But then, you
I've
know,
had more cigars than you've been alive. So what's the okay, there you go.
right? But then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, man, you know, I really learned something," or like, "Oh, wow, that was really interesting," and, like, that always makes me feel good, if
Right.
I can, you know, bring something different to the table, so, yeah, that's kinda what fills me up.
Yeah, I can tell, like, I've seen you at lots of events and you look, there are people that go to the events like, "Oh gosh, I gotta go to an event," and they just don't like it. Doesn't mean they don't like cigars, it's just that that's not their fate. You really shine at that. You're really I mean, we were at an event recently that I saw a guy that was kinda beating you up over whatever, he was trying to find something or prices, and you're a pro. I'm, like, on the other side of that, trying not to, like, not to, like, break character or whatever, and you're, like, so much so that I didn't even realize you got it, and then when he walked off, you're like, and then we're talking about it, but I mean, it's just like, yeah, you generally like that environment, and you like talking to people and the experiences, and I hate to go for the cliche aspect of it, but I guess I have to. I mean, being a woman in the cigar industry has to be tough just because I see some of these guys in lounges, and they're just absolute jerks. They're just thinking that, you can't possibly know enough, or you're a woman or something like that, and so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask you what is it to be a woman in a guy's industry. What do you feel you have the advantage of, though, over guys?
You know, and it's a good reframe because, yeah, it is a question that you get
It's a
asked a
horrible
lot,
question. It's a
but,
horrible question.
yeah, and it's like and I don't think some people really wanna hear the answer because honestly, sometimes it really sucks.
Yeah, 100%.
I did an event 2 weeks ago and, you know, like, some guy's like, "Oh, nice to see a cute cigar rep once in a while." Yeah, I'm like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
well, and I was like, "You know, I'm actually really good at my job too."
Right, yeah. Go figure. Go figure.
But, you know, I like it because I don't wanna say, like, use it to my advantage, but if you're gonna come talk to me because you think it's, like, interesting or niche to talk to a woman cigar person, but then, you know, I can hold your attention and you actually leave with learning something or buying a
Right.
box or, you know, feeling more connected to the brand, like, if that's what it takes to get you to come, you know, approach me or listen to me, but then I can, you know, flip you with my knowledge, so then, you know,
Right,
I think that
right.
is an advantage because, yeah, it's you kinda get people who are like, "Oh, what are you gonna know?" But I do feel honestly like that is not nearly as much of an issue as it was when I started in the cigar industry.
Right,
I
right.
think we just overall has like the perception maybe has shifted. People are a little bit, I wanna say more chill about it, but I don't run into that as much. But yeah, I think the advantage is like, "Okay, fine. You
Right.
think this is interesting? Great, come talk to me."
Right, 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 right. Yeah, there's always that yeah, look, I mean, it's any industry, and it's just the guys sometimes are just absolute, "Well, I know more than you do," and I'm like, "Yeah, you really don't."
Right? You know, and it's so hard because, I mean, even going back to your comment about the events and like, yeah, there are people who annoy the shit out of me, or people I don't want to have a conversation with. But you know what? I don't want to say it's my job, but like, we're all human. We're all just trying to like
Right.
get through whatever, life, right? And be happy. And it's just like, okay, I'm not going to be mad about this. Like, I'm not going to get, I'm not going to react. Like, I will try to navigate it in like a kind and professional way. And I will say
Right.
most of the times that tends to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel that since you've been in the industry that the consumer is more educated about cigars?
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, yes. I think more people, especially, I think after COVID really was a big push for more people just
Hmm.
getting engaged with, online shows and doing more research into things. And I do feel generally that the consumer is more educated. If I think back to my retail days, there would be people who come in and they don't know brands, they don't know blenders, which fine. Like I understand that you don't need to know that to smoke a cigar,
Right.
right?
Right.
But that they just would come in really not knowing anything. Where now, like people know brands, they know blenders, they know stories, they know the blends themselves, and it just generally seems like people are a bit more in tune to what's happening.
Yeah, that's good. If you could share a cigar with anybody, past, present, future, alive, dead, whatever, who would you want to sit and just have a cigar with and sit over in a park somewhere and people watch with them?
It's so interesting that you asked me this because I've been asked this question a lot and I always struggle to come up with an answer. And then recently, Alex, my husband, Alex,
Yeah.
Alex and I had watched a documentary on Steve Irwin, and
Oh, wow.
he
Okay.
seems like just such a genuinely good guy. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh, wow, the next person who asks me this question, Steve Irwin, is going to be my answer because he just genuinely seems like he would have been the best guy. There's people like you don't obviously know them personally, but just how they come across in media, they
Right.
just seem like
Right.
they're going to be great. And as a naturey person, his conservation and like his approach to everything was so interesting.
Right.
I think he would just be a great guy to talk to and just spend some time with. So yeah,
I love the answer because everything, oh, Mark Twain, or something like that. I'm like, which is cool. By the way, I would probably love to hang with Mark Twain, but I
yeah.
mean, I love the out of the box answer and genuine. That's great. So what retail, obviously where you are now, what's the best piece of advice you've received? And it doesn't have to be cigar related. The best piece of advice you received that still kind of guides you today.
So the best piece of advice I ever received, and I don't even have to think about this, Jeff, the owner of Yuli's,
Hmm.
when I was leaving to go to the manufacturer side, he was like, you know, you gave me this whole spiel about, being successful and everything, but he said, always stay humble.
Yeah.
That, always stay humble. And I don't think that I have an ego, or I guess you try to keep it in check, right? But
We all
it's
do a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. And I think that's something that even if I don't feel like I'm consciously thinking about, it just kind of lays deep within. And I think, everybody could exercise humility and it probably would make them a more, I don't know, caring, empathetic, just generally,
Hmm.
I don't want to say better person, but yeah, just job. Yeah, he said, always stay humble. It doesn't matter where life leads you or what you end up doing, just, yeah. And I've always thought about that.
Yeah. Someone told me in 2000, never believe your own press. And I thought to the same effect that stuck with me because I was always thinking, as big as you get or whatever you're doing in the industry, and you may, obviously, you're very popular in what you're doing and people know who you are. And I have to a lesser extent, following and stuff like that. But it's just like, even if there's great things written about you, never get so sucked up in your own press that you lose that humility or lose where you came from.
Yeah.
Cause it's what makes you you. I
Yeah.
mean, really.
Yeah. And I wouldn't sell yourself short, Fred. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time and you had your own brand and
Well, it's
you're
it's just by attrition as people start dropping away that I'm still around.
see,
I
now you're
just,
being too humble.
no, I know. I love the journey. I mean, even before Nomad, and I said going into it, I'm a cigar smoker first and foremost, and I loved the experience of doing Nomad and the journey of it, and I love what I'm doing now. This, I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. I don't know the media side. I don't know what to do. It's like I do these interviews, like, well, you should have asked this or you should ask that. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm winging it as I go along, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and this is like a very new side for you. I mean, I don't want to ask like
Oh yeah,
a very like
yeah.
generic sweeping question, but like what has been sort of like the biggest learning curve coming from the background that you have in cigars to now being kind of on like the press side of it?
This is not your interview, okay? Just for the record. No, no,
It
it's
is
good,
now,
but
Fred.
it is. Okay, yeah, you got 5 minutes to ask me questions. So it's been weird. It's been strange. And one of the things going into it, when Thor and I talked about doing it, and I was excited about Cigar Press Magazine, it's 18 years, and what would I bring to the table? Thor's the writer. I'm not the writer. I'm not near that polished. I'm just out here screwing around, having a good time, and hopefully get a few nuggets in it. I didn't want to review the cigars. I told Thor, I said, look, here's the deal. I know most, if not all of the manufacturers, at least a lot of them very closely. I'm not going to review their cigars. I'm like, we'll talk about the reviews and who you're reviewing, but I'm like, they all get 94s. Can we move on? I mean, it's a cigar for somebody. I mean, so that part of it, trying to learn how to tell a story. When I built Nomad, it was telling the story of a brand growing, and my experiences in DR and my experiences in Nicaragua and playing with different tobaccos that I wasn't familiar with, and sharing that story of what I did right and what I did wrong. And that's how I found my audience. And I feel that the media for me, I'm just it's an extension of that. Like these shows, I mean, this just came by accident, as I just wanted to create something. I need to create content for Cigar Press, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted it to be something like this that was just more a chat. And I guess it was the same reason I did the Final Puff episodes when I was, after I sold Nomad and I didn't know what I was going to do yet, is I want cigar smokers to see people in the industry as real people. They have hopes, they have dreams, they have families, they have challenges and things like that. And I wanted that to be, we've all hung out like in a circle bar at PCA or at a restaurant in Esteli or or in DR or whatever. And I wanted to have people see that a little bit, to see that it's just there. And it's a little bit of like when you see someone gets to go down to a factory for the first time, they're like, oh, I can't pay $12 for a cigar. And then you go down there and you realize how much work goes behind it. And I want people to see the culture of that. It's what we love about the industry. We can be dropped in any shop anywhere in the world, and everybody thinks that their cluster of people is unique. And it's always the same 9 personalities. It's the guy that has a ton of money that has to tell everybody he has a ton of money. It's the guy next to him who's dressed way down that actually has more money than all of them combined.
Exactly.
That's just the most casual person, ever. You've got the guy that has to smoke a high-end cigar and hold the band in a way to make sure everybody sees what he's smoking the entire time, so he can hold the label out because he's that guy. And then you have everything in between. And what I love about the industry is you can have a zillionaire next to a guy that's making nothing. And in that environment, they're all equal. It's what we love about the industry. We go to the shop, we solve the world's problems in a conversation. We go home, we come back because it's all screwed up again. Then we start the conversation over.
Exactly. That's cool. It seems like you were kind of finding your stride here.
I have no idea. I have no idea what my stride is. I really am making this up as I go along, but at least it's honest. At least it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. One more, since we're talking about humanizing people, and this is not a cigar show, and it's now my interview that I've taken over.
Apparently, I've been hijacked.
I have a whole like laundry list of good food, but like recently, when you've been on the road, for work, what's the best thing you've eaten? Like, what's the best meal you've had recently being on the road for a cigar thing?
Gosh, I'm a huge foodie, so it's tough to narrow that down. If it's tied to cigars, it's the full rounded cigar experience. So,
Doesn't
Saga
have to
and
be just like if you're on,
like Saga and DR for me is
so
amazing
good.
because you're smoking cigars. You got a tomahawk ribeye sitting there on a salt block. If I'm there with a group of people, I was there with Eric Yummy from Cigar Snob, and we're at a big table down there, and the negotiation starts of how many of these tomahawks to order.
Sure.
And we're smoking. And I remember I say like 5, and Eric says like 2. And I'm like, okay, we have a negotiation problem here on what we're
How
gonna
many
have to
people
do.
were there?
There were like 7, but
5 tomahawks?
okay. In my defense, so it was me, Christian Hudson from Springfield, Missouri. Frank Seltzer was alive at the time. And Eric had a couple guests. Unbeknownst to me, one was a vegetarian. Yami eats like 3 slices. Eric's not eating a lot. So then at the end of the day, I think we settled on 4. And then what happened was Yeah, it was. And what happened is that I'm pulling my weight, Christian's pulling his weight, everybody else is tapped out, and there's almost an entire tomahawk left. I mean, and I'm like, I'm not going to be wrong. And Christian and I
Oh
look at each
no.
other and we're like, we have to keep eating. I mean, we're not going to be wrong about what the number was. So we ate it, and I was so full. And then recently I was in Spain for a month,
Okay.
and just again, this is the experience: is you're sitting down, you're getting the smoke, you're having tapas, and they're just bringing all these different foods. And there was this one thing, and it's funny because I was with Albert, who used to own cigar rings, and him and we're there, and then Tracy and I went there, and I had this it's a slice of a baguette with a piece of filet mignon on top of it and foie gras on top of that.
Mhm.
And they're like, "What would you like for dessert?" And I'm like, "I'd like another one of these," because
Right.
it was so good. So I'm a huge foodie. I like steaks. And I pick my cigars based on what it is. If I'm having a breakfast cigar and having a meal or whatever, but the attachment to food and cigars is strong. I mean,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
probably more so for me with food than it is with alcohol. I
Sure.
mean, I'm
Oh,
just
I
like,
agree.
what meal did I have and stuff. But I like all food. I love Italian food. I like Thai, although that becomes a harder one to pair, I think, a little bit with, because of all the
Yeah, the
curries and
flavors
stuff
are
like that.
real bold.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about being on the road all the time is you get to eat really, really good food. So as a food
yeah.
person myself, it's that's definitely the advantage.
I always wanted, and I still need to do it, is I always wanted to create a cigar person's guide to food, because every rep and manufacturer knows all the great restaurants to hit in obscure towns. Like, oh, you're
Of
gonna be in Wells,
course.
you're gonna be in Wells, Nevada. You got to go to, Skippy's
For
Burgers or whatever like
sure.
that. I mean, they all know, oh, chicken fried steak in Wichita, you got to go here because the gravy is really, I mean, so I always thought that would be like a really cool guide where
That would
all
be.
the reps and manufacturers, and you put, whatever state you're in. Oh, this one was submitted by, Laurel Tilley. This one was submitted by Brian McGee. This one was submitted by whatever. 'Cause these
Yeah.
people, they know where the food is. I mean, if
Oh,
if anything in our
absolutely.
culture, we may be first and foremost a food culture that also smokes cigars.
Yes. Well, and you've written a book before. You could write this. I mean,
No, I want other people to write it though. I want them to
okay.
submit. I want them to submit where they go
Yeah,
and what
like
they
a
order.
compilation. No, but that's good because like you can go to a big major city and yeah, there's all like the food places and the guides, but like yeah, you're going to, you know, I think about like best cigar prices. Like you're going to Drums, Pennsylvania. Okay, where's the best place to eat? Where's the best place to eat in
Right,
these like rural
right.
obscure places? No, that's
I think it's the only reason I like Vegas, because I don't really gamble. I love gambling, but I hate losing. I know that sounds incredibly stupid, because who likes losing? But I'm like, the people who go, oh, I'm betting $500 a day. That's just my budget. That's my entertainment. If I lose $500, I'm like, I could have bought a lot of cigars for
yeah, I'm
that. I
like
could have bought,
really mad about that.
I know I could have bought a fountain pen. At least I would have went home with it. But for me, I'll say one thing about food, and I've said it before. It's like, I am happy with, we go to Del Frisco's and I get their whatever tomahawk and it's $135 and it's a great tomahawk. Or I'm okay with, hey, this $4 cheeseburger place is outstanding.
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
as happy in either one. What I don't
Good
like is,
food is good food.
right, don't give me a $70 crappy steak.
Correct.
I would have rather just gone and got a hot dog somewhere.
Correct. Like I don't mind paying money for good food, but it has to
Yeah.
be good food. Like I went to this pasta place recently and it was incredible. And it was like pasta tapas, so just like a bunch of small plate pastas that you share.
Oh,
And it was
I'm listening.
so oh, it was in Philly. It's called Fiorella Pasta, like kind of in the Italian market area.
Right.
Bread, mind blowing.
Wow.
I mean, really good. And the bill was not exorbitant for everything that we had. I'm like, I have paid $100 for way worse.
Right, 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 right.
And it's like I would rather have something that's good. I don't care if it's $4. It just has to be good. Yeah, like there's
Right.
there's nothing more criminal than paying a shit ton of money for something that isn't that good.
Right, right, right. No, I don't know that anybody likes that, but are you a sports fan? Are you a
Eh,
Packer fan?
I
Eh.
mean, if I had
Oh,
to, if I had to choose, I guess Packers, yeah, but I don't really frankly care about football. So,
I mean, at the risk of alienating 18% of my audience, I mean, Packers won this week, so I mean,
mm, mm, mm.
there you go. You didn't even know that, did you?
I know I didn't.
Oh gosh. I don't even know how you're allowed out of Wisconsin without like signing some waiver on that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it was funny when we moved to Nashville, people were like, "Oh, are you guys gonna become Titans fans?" Like, when have I ever talked about football? What I haven't
That's
ever
true. That's true.
expressed
True.
interest.
Right.
Also, no, if I was going to be a football fan, it's going to be the Packers, but
Right.
it's
So you
just
don't have any sports, like you're not like a secretly F1 fan or, no.
no, not really. Like we watch MotoGP, which is a
Right.
motorcycle racing, which is like,
Right.
F1 for motorcycles, but no, not really. I mean, Nashville has a soccer team, the Nashville Soccer Club, which is great. We'll go to those games. Soccer is very interesting to me. But I guess I don't want to say like conventional sports. Baseball, sure. I like the Brewers. I've gone to a lot of Brewers games. I grew up going to the Sox games. My family's from Chicago, so
Right.
grew up on those. But I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm like I would never describe myself as like a sports person.
Right. What about books or movies? Either one of those?
So books, yes. Movies, like I like movies, but I'm not like a movie nerd. But yeah, I'm a big reader. So yeah,
Now,
that's what
do
happens.
you read like stuff that like is supposed to make you better, or do you make like I just want a book that just like I'm escapism? I'm on a plane and I just want to be entertained. I mean, romance
Everything.
novels. I mean,
Um, not no shame, but not romance novels. No, it's just a little bit of everything, and I kind of switch depending on like if I read something real like heavy and technical or something nonfiction. The next book that I read will be something more of like a brain break. I like learning things. I like historical fiction or literary fiction, something that's a little bit more like the human experience or something that, it's rooted in reality, but the story is made up, right? So like you get real world events that have happened set in the situation, but it is
mhm.
still a work of fiction. So you're like learning, but you're also being entertained.
You're like
So that's
secretly being taught something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like that's kind of my sweet spot. Like, I recently finished a book that was set in the time like when, Franz Ferdinand's assassination that, sparked World War One. So like while it
Right.
was a book of fiction, it was set in Austria and like set in this time where so you're learning more about that time and the history of it while still being entertained by this book. So yeah, like I said, I like nonfiction, I've been trying to hone in on meditating and I'm not good at it. Like I can't like shut my brain off. And
Mhm.
so I usually am reading like a travel book and then like a home book simultaneously. So my home book right now is
That
trying
was my
to
next
figure
question. My next question was, are you one of those people that can read simultaneous books?
yes, but they have to be different enough. So there was one that was interesting actually. I was reading simultaneously like a home book and a travel book. It was like kind of the rise of this counterculture in the 70s and then also reading about like, Watergate, which was directly related to this like the
Right.
rise of this counterculture and also like what was happening under the Nixon administration. So, those I found interesting to read together because they had a lot of crossover. But
Mhm.
typically I don't like to read something that's going to be too similar. So if I'm reading like my travel book might be a work of fiction and my home book might be like an autobiography.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Last question.
Mhm.
If someone lights up an AJ Fernandez cigar 5 or 10 years from now, what do you hope that they feel or remember in that moment?
I I think it's just to enjoy that moment. Smoking a cigar, I don't think is a good opportunity to be thinking about, what you had going on earlier that day or yesterday or dwelling on something or like thinking about too much in the future. I think it's a good opportunity to sit and just be in the space you're in and like be mindful and be present like in that moment. Enjoy the cigar, enjoy your surroundings, whether you're by yourself or with company. I think I would just want them to feel like that's where they need to be in that moment and not be dwelling on anything past or future.
That's great. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you or find you online.
So Laurel Tilley on Instagram, same for Facebook. I'm around in all the markets and stores, so you can go to our website, ajfernandezcigars.com. We're actually in the middle of kind of overhauling that, so it's gonna have more listing of like big events and goings on and stuff, so you can find more that way as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out. It's been great. It's always great to see you.
Yeah,
And
you too, Fred.
yeah, we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, guys.